Welcome to Real Foot Forward, a West Tennessee podcast from Discovery Park of America in Union City, Tennessee. Today's episode is brought to you by the XL Boat Company.
Thank you, Zach, and welcome everybody to Real Foot Forward, a West Tennessee podcast where we explore the history, the people, and the culture of our home here in West Tennessee. I'm your host, Scott Williams. Zach, as usual, before I introduce today's incredible guest, what is something you discovered this week at Discovery Park of America?
This week, recently I discovered that our wildlife department added a curly-haired tarantula to our list of animals. I've never seen one up so close like that, and it's interesting. And it's also interesting that if someone's booking a field trip or just a group visit here, they can see them for themselves in a wildlife lesson if they book that as well.
When did we get a tarantula?
We've had it for a few months.
Huh. I need to go down there and see it. I love tarantulas.
I don't.
When I lived in Texas and we had tarantulas all over our sidewalks and stuff, it was really cool. So is it like as big as a hand?
Yes, it is.
I need to go see that.
And
And you know what a lot of people don't know is like we typically only have the animals that are native to this region, but we also have a flying squirrel back there that was rescued.
that's true.
Um, and there's some other animal back there too in a cage. I can't remember what it is. Okay, enough of that. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Josh. I'm sorry. Thank you, Zach. I said that because our guest is Josh Collins. Okay, so Josh is currently, I guess when they introduce you at big fancy events, they say founder and CEO of Main Street Mentor, which we're going to talk about. But you've had a fascinating career. You're younger than me. But your social media and your business career has sort of been in some sense alongside mine. And so I'm very curious to ask you a lot of questions, related to business communication, those kind of things.
Yeah,
Welcome,
yeah.
Josh.
Man, thanks. Scott and Zach, such a gift to be here. And I tend to use all the words. So this is like the perfect environment. Let's do it. Let's get into it.
Right. No, it's I was doing a little research on you, and yeah, I mean you're a very illustrious guest for us to have here on Real Foot Forward. And if you don't mind, rewind the clock just a little bit and tell us where
Sure.
little baby Josh came from and
Oh
your
man.
path to infamy.
Oh wow. Well, so to go all the way back to the baby Josh, right? There would be a man and a woman. They tended to. No, I'm just kidding, right?
No, hey,
Well, so
you've got
I
kids, so you've had to have this
I
conversation
do.
before.
Exactly. The birds and the bees. There we go, brother. But so I'm a native Nashvilleian. I'm a unicorn, right? In Middle Tennessee, as there's so many transplants nowadays. Of course, that's the great thing about this age that we live in, right? Is we can move, we can migrate faster, easier, simpler than long before. So born in Nashville, grew up in Texas as well, like you. So got a little bit of Texas in me, and Texas and Tennessee, two great states, no doubt about it.
Which city
And
in Texas?
Houston, Texas, technically
Awesome.
Spring, the northwest side of
Yeah,
Houston, H Town.
great.
So um, I don't have any gear on. I have been wearing my Astros gear this week in protest simply because I can't. That's in my blood, right? I love the Astros. But anyways, moved back to Nashville as a teenager. Went to Belmont University, and the Belmont became the launch pad for me. Um, left Belmont and then spent the first 15 years of my professional life in the music business, as many tend to do when they leave Belmont or go to Belmont or simply live in Middle Tennessee, Nashville area, right? Songwriting, publishing, music business is such a key category, industry category there. So as it turns out, because I was born here, though, but as a 6-year-old, I was on a, tour bus with, artists and entertainers, and just had grown up around the industry. In fact, if you recall, not many talk about her these days, but Crystal Gale was my earliest memory in the music business, being on her tour bus as a young 6-year-old child, Josh.
I was
So
going to ask you what your parents did to put food on the table, so I'm assuming it must be something in the entertainment business.
It is interesting. My mom, she worked at Vanderbilt, and my stepfather was a very interesting man, double doctorate in theology and psychology, hence my kind of fuel for curiosity and study and everything else. But he was one of those few back in that time that artists and entertainers would call upon for counsel, spiritual guidance, right? These kinds of things. He tended to be one of a few that would be called upon late nights when certain people found themselves in trouble, as you can imagine, tended to happen from time to time. So yeah, so that was and I had a stepbrother, older stepbrother, who was a bodyguard at the time in the music industry then, and so I couldn't help but find myself into it myself, right? And so anyway, spent my young professional life, like I was starting to say, left Belmont, 15 years in the music industry. Eventually found myself mixing and working for artists like The Roots and John Legend, Stevie Wonder. Just traveling the world many times, filling multiple passports, and yet here's what's so rare was I had no clue that travel and tourism was an industry. No clue, right? I mean, here I'd been traveling the world, but just no clue that it was an official quote unquote industry. And so um, found my way into it, began a nice 6 year run with Visit Franklin here in Middle Tennessee, south of Nashville. Visit Franklin is the official destination marketing organization
Now,
for
what got
Williamson
you?
County.
What plugged you into that? Going, how did you go from music to that?
Yeah, that's such a good question. To be just
Thank you.
totally
I'm not
candid,
happy. I'm not happy unless somebody says that every podcast. So thank you very
what's
much.
that?
You said that's a good question.
Yeah.
So I wait for that moment. Zach, we need a little bell that when
You
we
do.
get a
You need a
we do
bell. That's right. We need a
ding
sound
ding ding
machine.
ding ding.
That's right. Ding, ding, ding. You did it. Mission accomplished. Well, I'll just be candid with you, Scott. I tell my story, and stories are meant to be stewarded, right? So at that time in my life, everything you've ever read, seen, or heard about the music business is true. It eats people alive. It is very difficult to be a man, a good father, while doing that. So I needed a career pivot, just to be honest. I nearly lost my family, my wife, my children. I was a fool, acting a fool, doing all the things that come with that package, and so intentionally started down a journey of saying no to work in the music business while trying to find that pivot, right? That next career pivot. And so had begun doing some marketing, branding, communication, consulting, that kind of stuff. I've always had a natural affinity for technology, so I was helping people think about integrating technology into what they do and how to connect with their audiences, right, online and off, et cetera. And at the time, the executive director of Visit Franklin began following me online and reached out and said, "Hey, let's get coffee." And so we did. We grabbed coffee at Five Points here in downtown Franklin, and he sat in front of me and said, "I've been following you for a while. I love how you communicate, and I can't help but think I'm supposed to create something on my team for you." And I said, "Well, where have you been for 3 years? Goodness gracious, let's do it. Let's make it happen." And he's, "I don't think I can afford you." And I said, "That's okay. I'm a man of faith. I believe it's going to work out. Let's go." And I started. And sadly, 2 weeks later, he moved on, and someone stepped into the interim executive chair, and my dear friend Kelly Murphy, who is now at Columbia, Tennessee, and I just took over all of marketing and just started hustling, running, doing what I know to do, right? The things that are so natural to me, and I'm understanding how to connect with human beings and how to grow audiences and build community and all these kinds of things. And I was an outsider to the travel and tourism world, but I just started hustling. Next thing you know, 6 years later, of course, Franklin, right, has the gift of being in the shadow of Nashville, right? Nashville was a booming city and really growing. And so we could draft in that shadow. People were not jumping out of helicopters to visit Franklin, Tennessee. They were coming through Nashville International Airport, right? And so on and so forth. And so, um, yeah, just experience a ton of fruit and good stuff happening. And that's how I fell into tourism. It has become my people. I have found my people through the world of tourism. There's no doubt about that.
So a lot of folks listening are working in other industries other than tourism. For them, tourism, you know, is just, a matter of going to visit someplace. But on the other end, there's, a lot of people like you who are trying to get them to come to the place you
Yeah.
want them to go to. What are some of the things that you did back then and that you continue to do now? We're going to talk further about, what you do now, but what are
Yeah.
some of the things that you do to get people to visit Nashville
Well, here,
or
what I
Franklin?
part of what I love, yeah, part of what I love about tourism, of course, is not only is it, I mean, depending on the statistics, right? It's in the top 10 largest revenue producing industries in the planet, on the planet, right? So, and yet it is relatively silent. Most people think about tourism and don't quite understand its impact, nor do they quite understand how a vibrant city or a vibrant quality of life requires healthy tourism to facilitate that quality of life that we so long for, right? So, much of what I do and what I saw as opportunity, this again, this is way pre-COVID, right? But I understood that the best channel of communication has been, will be, and will always continue to be word of mouth, right? When we think about the transfer of trust that happens between human beings, uh, we trust our friends. That's why they become friends. That's right. We now more than ever, of course, are experiencing, right, this disintegration of trust in institutions at large, right, by and large, which is why more and more important having friends articulate and share the positive joy and pride of places to their friends and family to gather them, right? That so those ambassadors, right? Those local ambassadors of our places. I just intuitively knew that coming into to visit Franklin, and so coupled with the fact that we had a micro budget at the time, so when most of tourism were thinking you got to buy attention outside of your backyard, I'm like, well, man, that is really silly, strategically speaking, because there's no way in the world I can compete for those eyeballs and impressions, and that's a very bad strategy. So I just led into going, I need to activate my locals who love where they live and get them to talk about us more. Get them to share why they love living here in Franklin, for example, or why they love going to these events across Williamson County and so on and so forth. And we also had the benefit too of, um, so many of the quote unquote influencers, right, of Nashville or these other things. They live in Williamson County. So I could tap into them, and tap into my network from the music industry and entertainment industry and activate a lot of that. And so at that time, I just was playing the video game, as it were, through Facebook. Facebook was growing, organic reach was a thing. Video content specifically through Facebook was growing. So, we would do the simplest little videos at the time, and with our entertainers or local influencers, and we'd get millions of views on Facebook organically because again, we were playing a video game. That's what Facebook was wanting you to do. That's what they were encouraging. So their algorithm at the time valued video content, native video content over and above other types of content. So, just paid attention, and played the game the way the game was being laid out before me, as it were, right? So when we talk about tourism, getting people to visit, those were great strategies for us at the time, and I continue to take that forward with what I do now and how I work with clients through Main Street Mentor, and helping other places, right, develop just organic engines of growth through activating healthy, vibrant communities, positive word of mouth, all of these kinds of things.
What about
Yeah,
what
good
about the
stuff.
words leveraging experience as a strategy? I've seen that in a lot
Ah,
of the things that are written about you or that you've written. Talk to us a little bit about experience as strategy.
yeah, so I tend to be those listening, right? We're on Zoom, we can see each other. So those listening, um I have a wall of books behind me. I am a full-fledged card carrying nerd, and I love to study human behavior. And so part of what I just am fascinated by is what makes us do the things we do? Why do we do the things we do? Why do we say this, choose this, emphasize this over and above this? Just I'm just curious. I just have a natural kind of curiosity bent to how I approach the world. And so um, that leads it to understanding, well, what happens in markets, what happens in organizations, cultures, all these things. And so that leads to the experience economy, right? We started to understand the proliferation of this experience economy, growing from an agrarian economy to a service economy. Some are even saying now we're moving into an AI economy. And so the experience economy just really was something I started paying a lot of attention to, in the words and language of experience, and it almost constitutes this human on human connection, right? This thing that's driven. And so in that then became for me helping people inside the tourism industry and outside, to be honest with you, because I know we got a lot of people that are from different walks of life that are listening here, Scott. But the actual thing that anybody sells is the experience of that transfer of time, transformation of time, right? So you think about even the Discovery Park, which you guys have, yeah, you have the opportunity to sell meaningful discovery, right? Educationally and so on and so forth. But you know what's the really special thing about what Discovery Park of America offers? Is the memories, the transformation of time inside of those that we want to spend time with, family, friends, right? Think about, you know what? I remember the last time I got to do this with grandma before she passed. It's that right there, what we just highlighted, that experience. That's what activates our souls. That's what activates our hearts. And of course, we buy not from logic, right? What we buy from emotion. We make decisions from kind of that integration of emotion. And so leveraging that experience is downstream of all of that, right? And so focusing on that really does help clarify marketing messages, clarifies marketing strategy, promotional strategies, organizational strategies, even, how we think about organizing leadership cultures, right? How do we think about raising up the next generation of leaders? How do we think about our tourism organizations, Main Street organizations, chambers, anything that says, well, let's think about even local leadership, city managers. I mean, really, all of it. When we go, do we have succession plans in place? All of it gets wrapped up together, Scott. Right, and just thinking about that, leveraging experience.
So let's talk about your new endeavor. I don't know how long has it been since you started Main Street Mentor.
Almost a year.
Oh
Almost a
wow,
year.
okay. So it's still pretty
Yeah,
new.
very much
Talk to
so.
us about the impetus of starting your own business with this objective, and the battle within on whether you should or should not. What really inspired you, and what triggered you to push ahead and make it happen.
Yeah, this is it's been a journey. There's no doubt about it. I think, when I was at Visit Franklin, I left Visit Franklin, got to go to a national, really international creative agency called Street Sense. They were headquartered in Bethesda, Maryland, and got to run kind of their tourism book of business there and take, continue to test my hypotheses, my assumptions in other places around the country, right? With other destinations and things that I experienced success through Middle Tennessee, got to put in place for, elsewhere, right? And then learn from those and continue to grow. And then COVID hit, and COVID opened the door for me to join a startup called Entrada Insights, which then became Zartico. And really experienced a ton of growth and success through there, and eventually it was time to to venture out to the next adventure. And one of the common themes that had come up is that COVID really allowed for me to crystallize in the back half of my life and career is well, I'm a builder. I have been created and am functionally thrive when I am building things, whether that's building cultures, building teams, building products, building companies, right? I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit in me. And in fact, many throughout my career have always challenged me or asked me, "Hey, why don't you do your own thing? Why don't you go launch out? Why don't you do this?" And I always kind of push that to the side, right? I was kind of too afraid. I think, to be honest with you, I think it just too afraid to take that risk, and lack of confidence, which really masks itself as deep pride,
Well, like
internally.
a lot of folks want to start a business. You know, they have a great idea and they,
Yeah.
you know, want to take the leap, but like, you know, you have, I believe it's three kids, who,
Mm-hmm.
by the way, they look like they're in a Disney movie. They look like Disney kids.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
so
Well, we
like,
love Disney as a family, so that's awesome.
yeah,
They'll love that when they hear
like
it.
me, you married up and like
I
Zach,
did very
you
much so.
know, and so
I
Yep.
we
also
all
did.
have beautiful children,
Yes.
thanks to our lovely wives. Um, but yeah, I'm curious, you know, what it takes, you know, what it takes for somebody to finally make the leap.
Oh, gosh. Isn't that the question, right?
And I
I mean,
and I know that faith is also very important to you. So
yes.
you I'm sure
Yeah.
felt that pull, you know, and
Yeah.
checked in with the man upstairs to make sure you were going the direction
100%.
that you're supposed to go.
Well, and 100%. In fact, I mean, I just firmly believe that that man upstairs, that is one of the things I nerd out about is in kind of the intersection and study of philosophy and theology. But so theology and my faith is very important to me, and I just there is a word there continues to be a word, and that's freedom. I think what shifted in me was the recognition or submission to the reality that, oh, I am actually free to go do this. Right? It was it's like the risk reward. Obviously, if you're a builder like me, you enjoy a certain stage and phase of things. Part of that meant for me, like I realized, well, I can't maintain. I'm not meant to maintain things. Once things get to a maintenance mode, that's probably where I need to move on to the next challenge, right? There was some of that awareness, general awareness that was coming, um, but I think, I also wrestled with the fact that, um, and in part, was able to resolve that fact that, yeah, no, I do have what it takes, and I do have a way of thinking and seeing and contributing that is valuable, and I tested that, of course, right, and put that to test through some research and R&D, and that came back in the affirmative, and so it's certainly something I didn't just bravely, maybe bravely did, but I tested it. But at the end of it, my faith and everything else certainly affirmed that, I am free to do this, and freedom has become a real interesting concept. I see it everywhere now, and as a result, I also see the absence of it in a lot of other people and organizations and systems and processes, and I think that's what fuels me too, is this notion that I get the opportunity to wake up and come alongside places and organizations and teams, and perhaps in a maybe small way, some ways, in other ways bigger, set them free unto that vibrancy that we really do long for, but struggle to obtain.
So let's pretend like Zach is the head of the Chamber of Commerce, and he's also managing tourism for. I'm trying to think of a really good name. Zach, what do you want to call your town?
Uh, Willisburg.
Willisburg. What state are you in Tennessee?
Yeah, I'll stay in Tennessee.
Willisburg, Tennessee. Okay, so he's trying his best to get people to come to the local attraction. Zach, what is the biggest attraction in Willisburg, Tennessee?
It is a Halloween museum with the greatest costumes ever made. I
Oh,
love
that's
Halloween.
actually a good
We
idea.
celebrated yesterday, so it's just on my mind.
It is a good. That is a good idea.
Okay,
Zach,
so
very
so he
creative.
comes across you, Josh, at a conference, and
Yeah.
he's really unloading to you, man. Everybody's on him, trying to get people to come visit. Why is tourism down? Why is the Halloween Museum empty? Josh, what can you do to help my friend Zach keep his job and see his town prosper through tourism?
Yeah. This is a complex system tourism is. First of all, let's start there, right? You're managing two organizations, Zach. Wow, that's hard. Like you got a chamber and a tourism organization you're trying to lead at the same time. Woo wee. Do you
And
feel
I'm
like you're,
I'm I'm the mayor. And
oh,
I just don't understand why he cannot get it together and get people here. If I remember correctly, our last chamber director had at least twice as many people visiting. So I don't know what Zach is doing wrong. The county commissioners and we have been meeting
yeah,
separately. Zach's in trouble
behind the scenes. Yeah, Zach's
behind the
in trouble. Zach,
scenes.
bro, tisk tisk, right?
I need your help.
Oh man. Well, it is. It's a difficult and complex thing, right? We have a single person attempting to do two things with very distinct missions and purposes. And I'm just curious, like Zach, what did the former person do that was found to be so successful? I've never met a human being that can be in two places at the same time. That sounds superhuman. Tell me more. What did you think? What do you think was so successful in the past?
I don't know the answer to that. That's
No, but this is good. This is such a good hypothetical because these are the conversations that are literally happening, and I get to
yeah.
have them all the time. It's definitely true. I mean, right? We'd start thinking about, well, Zach, in this, what is it, Williamsburg? Williamsonburg?
Willisburg. My last name is Willis, so
Willis.
Willisburg. Sorry.
Willisburg. So Willisburg, are you built for success in tourism? Well, what does that mean? Let's think about what does it mean to be built for tourism success. Well, do you have dedicated funding? Have those that are wondering if you're doing a good job or not, are they on board with ensuring that you are given the tools you need to succeed?
I mean, we've
Most
he gets $10,000 a year to
ten
budget.
thousand dollars
That's
a
a big
year.
budget.
Wow, $10,000 a year. Now, Willisburg. How many people are in Willisburg?
10,000.
Oh, $1 for every person. That's fantastic. Wonderful. That seems reasonable, right?
Of
Sure.
course.
And let me ask you, let's talk a little bit. What are we generating from hotel tax and how many overnight visitors, right? We would need to do some understanding deep dive. What's happening? Let's before we think about solutioning, let's understand a little bit more about the problems. Let's understand a little bit more about the lay of the land, what's happening. Let's make sure that we have access to the correct data, can interpret it correctly, that we understand the meaning to be made of it, which is really, really key. And then let's think about whether or not Willisburg is properly set up for Zach to be successful. And Zach, between you and me, right? We might need to have a conversation about this Scott guy. I mean, maybe he has no clue of what tourism actually is, definitionally speaking. Maybe, he might want to take that 10,000 and go, Zach, you're not doing a good job. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to buy myself a nice Range Rover and drive around town in it or something else like that. Silly.
Well, we thought about putting a hotel motel tax in, but Becky, who runs the hotel, says people won't pay it. Says they'll get mad and they won't come because they'll be upset about that. So we've never done a hotel motel tax.
I know, right? There's that objection. Well, people won't pay it. That's a very common objection when we think about this. And sadly, I totally get it. It feels real, but the data tells us the opposite. The data actually tells us that nationally speaking, when we invite our tourists to pay these additional taxes because of what they do, they understand it and the connection gets made. Oh, I get to spend this money that I spend, right, actually goes to employ these people, keep these jobs in place, and then in turn helps me have a better experience. That life cycle of tourism, when communicated well, that story is very powerful and can create an even more positive experience for visitors, right? So, makes sense. Objections are real, they happen. But I promise you, Becky, when we get on the other side, you'll look back and you'll go, "Oh, I can't believe I thought that at that time. Look how
Well,
much positive."
I'm in favor of the hotel motel tax, because I need some money to put in the light bulbs at the high school. You should see how much those light bulbs at the high school cost, and I figure if we get the money from the hotel, then we can turn around and spend it at the high school, right?
Hey, that Zach, this is what I'm telling you, man. You got to watch this Scott guy.
I
He's
have
he
light
can be a
bulbs
little
too.
squirrely. Yeah, so understanding anytime we think about how this is really gets down to understanding the flywheel of any given place, right? There's an ecosystem here, visitors who typically should be defined as those who do not live within Willisburg. Zach, you need to start educating Scott. Help him, right? Now, none of us like to be told that we need to be educated, of course, right? So that's not what you're going to do. But you want to help every single time you get the opportunity. You want to remind everybody who will listen what a visitor is and what a visitor economy is all about and why is it so important. And, you will come to find, Zach, that while you may have thought your job looked like this, your actual job is you are an educator, my friend. Constantly, constantly, constantly reminding everyone that you get the opportunity to be in front of what tourism is all about, why it matters, and who is a visitor, and help them understand and connect these dots to where money comes in, where it goes, and how it ultimately impacts the quality of life. Because that's what Scott wants, right? Scott wants those light bulbs on the school. Well, he wants those light bulbs in the school. Why? Because people keep complaining to him about it. And what he really wants is not necessarily just the light bulbs. He wants the people to stop complaining to him about, well, one thing that helps people not complain when they feel like things are going really, really well, right? So we want to start a whole campaign with Willisburg about what it looks like to love Willisburg and how great Willisburg is. And so we can activate what's called pride of place. And activating that pride of place will have ripple effects. And we'll see Becky, who owns that motel. She's gonna love you, Zach, because now all of a sudden everybody's talking about coming to the Flying Squirrel Festival that you just invented and started right next to the Halloween store.
That's
So
right.
you know what I'm saying? That's pretty incredible. Now all of a sudden you just add to it and it keeps growing and growing and growing from there. Willisburg. Actually, I think I heard about Willisburg last week. In fact, somebody was telling me about this. And so that's how it happens. Next thing you know, one person says this, the next person says that. Oh, and I think we actually had a New York Times reporter that came through that Flying Squirrel Festival last year. And they said an article in the New York Times about it. It was one of the best places to visit in the South. Did you see that or hear that, Zach? You didn't even know about it. That's called earned media, and that's the way it happens. Now, now you making it big time.
And there are, and we joke, of course, but there are literally hundreds of thousands of Zacks around the country who are
That's right.
working in small communities. And, my experience has been that there are many, many, many well-meaning people in cities and counties and towns, and, who don't really grasp that while they may be an electrician and there are best practices and there's a whole business, there's a whole industry, there's decades of knowledge
Yeah.
and learning, in electrical or in, the pipeline building business. It's the exact same I have found in tourism. There's best
Yep.
practices, there's industry leaders, there's things that everybody who wants to be successful needs to do and needs to apply long term. This is
Yeah,
not,
exactly.
I did these two things and boom, So
Right.
so your new job is, or your company that's almost a year old. When does it turn 1 year old?
And it'll be December. It'll be December.
You're literally right around the corner. So you
Yeah.
do a little bit of what you just did with Zach,
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
is help guide from, a am I doing the right thing place to a I am doing the right thing and here's why place.
Absolutely. And that's just part of it too, right? Like, for example, I had the amazing privilege to do almost what we just kind of played around with Zach there, but with Natchitoches, Louisiana. I don't know if you know Natchitoches or if you've ever heard of Natchitoches, but it's beautiful, beautiful small town, Louisiana. It's where Steel Magnolia was filmed.
Hmm.
So really beautiful community, great waterfront, Main Street, right? And just what a gift to be there and help facilitate a workshop where, for the first time, their Main Street organization, their heritage organization, their chamber, and their tourism organization were in the room at the same time working on a single solidified destination messaging strategy and plan moving forward together, right? So that kind of thing was really wonderful. And so, certainly facilitating some workshops, consulting kind of things, but the real nuts and bolts too is then, after my experience, like you're talking about, Scott, right? There are best practices, and when it comes to communication and technology, the same goes there, right? So um, I have a software called the Main Street Operating System that Main Street Mentor has brought to market, and it is an all-in-one sales, marketing, membership management tool that has, in my experience, everything that, as a communicator marketer, that I have used in the last, 30 years, it's got all of that in a single place. So it is really the perfect operating system for a small town, a small organization, a small business, because it just makes everything simpler and easier to use and gives scale, which is really what you need, because you can't be everywhere at the same time, nor can you be wasting time switching between different tools, different platforms, forgetting your password, context switching, all of those things that happen in the life of, being a Zach at Willisburg, right? I mean, you're already tasked to be everywhere. And so the last thing you need to be doing is manual things over and over again, where nowadays technology and AI can make things automated, more programmatic for you. And so where I find a ton of opportunity and success is coming alongside these organizations, these attractions, these small businesses, even, and helping them become free through some of these mundane operational constraints, and help them implement systems to programmatically and automatically communicate one-to-one with their audience at scale, because that's the tried and true thing that will generate or create, first of all, earn the awareness and attention of that potential visitor, nurture them through the funnel, the marketing funnel, as it were, and then ultimately convert them into a repeat visitor that then is going online and that social feedback and talking about you for free, right? That's what we want to activate for places, chambers, main streets, small businesses all across middle America.
And it's especially helpful for folks like Zach, who is, alone. He has an intern there in
Yep.
Willisburg, but he doesn't have a staff of 40.
Exactly.
There's and it's there's some amazing destination marketing organizations and chambers and who have huge groups of people, and it's easier when you can bounce off of people and say, is this the right thing to do? Is this
Yep.
what, and but he doesn't. And so I can see where you're really doing some great work there. We're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, I want to ask you about your social media autobiography.
The XL Boat Company is located in Mountain View, Arkansas, and here in Union City, Tennessee. They are an attractive, affordable, and tough line of boats that are the perfect choice for your outdoor adventures of all kinds. When choosing your next boat, visit xlboats.com.
I hope you're enjoying the Real Foot Forward podcast from Discovery Park of America. If you are, please be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a positive, only positive reviews, please. Review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Our guest today is Josh Collins, founder and CEO of Main Street Mentor. We are going to ask you about your social media autobiography in just a moment. But first, I want to play a little clip You can only hear it, obviously, but if you go to our website, you can see it. This is a little clip of our recent rural tourism conference that took place here at Discovery Park of America. So let's take a listen.
Open for 11 years, Discovery Park has brought in not only visitors, amazing conferences like this. They're able to host and drive that visitation here, which drives revenue. We're so thankful for the rural areas. They have made such a difference in tourism for the state of Tennessee.
Okay, it was really great. And Josh, you were here. Did you enjoy the conference?
I did. I loved it. Gosh, the best people on the planet were there. Obviously, these people that are serve our communities in small towns and stuff. And then what a host Discovery Park of America was. Really an ideal place, in my opinion, for an event like that. I mean, Scott, bravo for your leadership and obviously Zach, the team, everybody in the team there. You guys were amazing hosts, very warm, very hospitable, and just really beautiful event.
Great, thank you. Yeah, it was fun to get everybody here, people that I meet with all over the country, but it was fun to have them here at my house. It was really a good time. So let's go all the way back to when you first started engaging with social media. Do you remember your first time where you plugged in and realized there's something here?
Oh yeah, I do. There's no doubt. It was when I was on the road in the music business, and I would help artists. So this is early Twitter and Facebook, and I remembered connecting the dots to say, um, getting these artists creating their first accounts, right? So now we know that it's like claiming their handle, right? And now that we, much like buying a domain name, right? Hey, you need to own your name. You need to own your band's identity online. And here's why. We spend all this time and energy to create this experience, and we have it. It's like it's heavenly. It really is heavenly, night after night after night. And you're trying to sell merch, and we may average $1.50 a head. You know what will happen is we can connect with our fans offline and remind them how great of time they had. Guess what's going to happen? They're going to come back. And guess what's happening next time they come back? We're going to go from $1.50 a head to 313 a head. Well, guess what? We just grew our business. That's the bottom line, right? That's making real impact to what we could do. Now along that way, right? We're going to see increases in our gate fees and no. But it was business impact. It was connecting the reality of human connection at scale online so that we actually can create an economic engine or better that economic engine for the common good. I mean, that's what I saw. I saw that. I still believe in the positive intent and outcome of social media, regardless of how we may experience it at certain seasons of life. I still believe that, it has the opportunity to encourage and be a beacon of life in communities everywhere.
Now, my path has always been that I feel like I cannot provide direction and guidance to Zach on what I want to see done unless I've actually, you make up a social media tool, and I have to do it in order to understand it. And so you must have been that way because I ran across your Pinterest page when I was I was doing research.
Holy cow, I haven't updated that thing in forever.
Yeah, I too have a
But
Pinterest place. It has all bicycles, a Pinterest page. It has all pictures of bikes on it. I don't know but I was just trying to understand how people use it. Now, you're now a dad, a business owner. It's been, social media has probably been around most of your professional career.
yep.
What does grown up um version of Josh use social media wise today?
Oh, good question. Gosh, because it's different. Yeah, we needed another bell there,
Ding,
Zach.
ding, ding, ding.
Exactly. It is different. And that's okay, right? I mean, there's new tools that have come and gone. Some I have explored. I will tell you this, the two that I am still actively engaged in the most are Facebook and LinkedIn.
Mm.
So LinkedIn, obviously, my goal there is to make not only increase the network or and hopefully um, grow and make new relationships and stuff like that and generate new opportunities, but through both Facebook and LinkedIn, my primary goal is to be an encourager. Right. So I want everything that I share to be something that would positively challenge, but then obviously encourage. And I think I vacillate in frequency, right? I think there's a lot of people. I'll bring back kind of an audio engineer metaphor, but there's a lot of noise through both, really through all social media, of course. And so learning to separate signal from that noise is really, really critical. And so um, I do my best personally to do that, right? To be more signal and less noise.
And so, have you don't do Tik? Do you do TikTok at all?
No, somebody's told me I should. I don't know, not to say that I won't, but in fact, somebody has told me, Josh, if you would document on TikTok your journey as honest and real as you can and want, you're of building what it really means to build a business, you would be huge. And I'm like, huh, okay, that's interesting. Um, Here's how sneaky that I feel like this is, though. If that's what it is, then that's what the business becomes,
Right.
right?
I
Because
but I
it's very
think
difficult.
what so TikTok's the only social media thing that I use now. So
Really?
now I will post because I feel like I need to use Facebook to literally let people know what's going on. So I
Yeah,
post very frequently there, and of course my kids, and I'm proud of
yeah.
them, and so I'll post things about them, but for pleasure, TikTok is it. If my wife is not at home and she's out running around and I'm going to eat dinner, I will not turn the TV on anymore. I will thumb through TikTok to get
You'll doom scroll.
news, business advice. The people I follow, like PR people, marketing
Yeah.
people, communication, and they'll talk for 1 minute about um, they'll talk about what you should do anyway. I find it incredibly helpful even from news anyway. So you would be, whoever told you that is spot on. And you let us know, because Zach is also a TikTok extraordinaire poster. So and he does
Are
all of
you a
our
TikTok
TikToks.
influencer, Zach?
He
Not quite.
is. He is. He
I'm
does.
working on it.
He just did a whole thing with ghosts. He did a whole thing with ghosts yesterday at Discovery Park. You can see it on our TikTok page. So,
That's I need
um,
I need to check it out. So similarly, like I do get sucked into the doom scrolling vortex of death. That tends to be through like Facebook stories. But I think for me, I am just in my personal growth trying to maintain a sober mindedness in a way. This is not for anybody else, right? Because I may be crazy here, but I just guard. I want to budget that time appropriately, and I don't always know what that means, but I think that's what's keeping me off of TikTok because I do see it in my kids how addictive it is.
see, you should
Because
TikTok what you just said. It'd be huge.
it'd be.
You get tons of likes for that. And then people would
Oh,
scroll on by you and go on to
and
the
then they
next.
keep going, and
Then
then they
go to
keep going.
Zach and his ghosts. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to hang out with us a little bit. We really appreciate it.
Oh man, this is fun. I always enjoy this kind of thing. And Scott and Zach, you guys are, I'm telling you, crushing it. The very fact that you're doing this on behalf of Discovery Park of America, and it's a vehicle to introduce who you are and what's so amazing about Discovery Park to new audiences. It speaks volumes of the leaders you guys are, but obviously just how fun uh, Discovery Park of America is.
Well, thank you. And I mean, the reason we had you on here in the first place is we thought you had a lot of TikTok followers. So I can see where Zach really screwed that research up. Um, so if somebody wants to find out
I'm
more
sorry.
about
I'm sorry to disappoint you on that.
if somebody wants to find out more about you and what you're doing and make a connection, where do they go?
Go to the website, yourmainstreetmentor.com. Great place there. Grab some time, book a call with me. I'm always up for meaningful conversations and chats like this. And, but yeah, anything I can do to help your chamber, Main Street, small business, I'd love to listen and discover.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And thanks to all you listeners who've joined us today at Discovery Park of America. Our mission here is to inspire children and adults to see beyond. To plan an experience here for you and your family, visit discoveryparkofamerica.com.